Hello, my friends. I thought I'd take you on a little tour again. So, I quit out of everything but my broadcasting software, and uh, this is recording as opposed to streaming, or else a browser window would have to be open because YouTube insists to use a browser to stream. I find that a little strange, but that's the state of affairs right now. This is Windows 10. Uh, I keep the Windows logo there because hey, yeah, might as well see the last version of Windows 10 that really captured that spirit of being the last operating system you'll ever need, which they talked about there for a while. Now, I have usually 7 virtual desktops running, and they fit right on the screen just very well. My icons are a little bit bigger than they used to be. My pointers may be a little bigger. That's because I switched to a lower pixel resolution. I switched from 150% to uh, to 100%. I am not doing any of that scaling. So you can see that under display settings, I guess it is. Under display settings, you've got this percent. Oh, I went to 200. Okay, so for every pixel on my screen, there's 4 actual hardware pixels. The real resolution of this monitor is twice the resolution, which means 4 times the pixels, because area versus linear length. So, from having done that, my Linux screens look better. So, usually I arrange these 3 icons in the order that they drop into these first 3 desktops, right? See, the first window is full screen terminal so that I can do a journal in Vim journaling. The second one is full screen Jupyter because you want to put thinking in Python or any computing language. You want to put a real time interactive language environment ahead of browsers. You want to think, I want to express myself in a programming language first. Well, actually, very first, you want to, and I'll do it, I'll load these, right? Because I usually go to the screen I want it on and I just double click it, and I go to the next screen and then I double click that, and I go to the third and I double click that. And so that's how I keep my sort of muscle memory. If I need my journal real quick, I just scroll all the way to the left. Boom, 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 boom. I know I'm there. If I need Jupyter, I go all the way to the left and just bump one to the right. Now I have a slightly new layout going on here because I am allowing myself to use VS Code as an alternative to Jupyter Lab. Neither one is a perfect tool. They both have their issues and their problems, and their strengths and advantages. And it happens to be that if you want an interactive coding environment that has all the bells and whistles, it's got to be VS Code. And I guess I'll even state that fact. I'll go directly to my journal so you don't have to see me load everything with my all script. There's a lot of Git stuff that goes on to make sure all my daily files are safe. But I can cd into hide / my name, and in that directory I have a journal .md, which I have in a number of places throughout, because having that consistent format and having a blogging slice and dice system apply to it is a really good idea. So everything I write here after I publish it actually gets published, and I guess, see, that's screen 2. This is screen 1, this is screen 2. So I'll probably put VS Code here. So to see something I published to, I would usually put this one here, but I have the icons set up for in here, so I can just go there and click this, and keyword clustering my blog with KMeans. Keyword clustering my blog with KMeans. And that is what I want to show you in VS Code, because I am keyword clustering my blog with KMeans. And you might be wondering what the heck K means, and I'm here to not answer that for you. I'll give it to you in the very broadest abstract form, but just know that it is a grouping algorithm that's a little bit funky because it kind of throws up paths and then moves those paths around until you have the right number of groups, and it tests and moves and changes until it has it sorted out just right. And the weird thing about that is the process gets seeded with a random number. A random number seeds that process, so you sometimes get different results when you run it. The way you fix that is you seed it with not a random number. You turn your random number into a fixed number. And so when this finally loads, I'm not saying this is snappy. That's the price of me doing the Linux version. That's the price of me doing this recording with OBS software. And that is the price of me being on an ancient i5 laptop. So you can see this is because it's loading for the first time. It would really load much faster than this. I did a reboot to have sort of a fresh machine in memory. But that means that not all that first time running and access stuff is cached. So this takes a little bit, and it's worth talking about because it's detecting the kernel. Look at that version of Python, 3.11.3. The only way you get newer than this is to get those experimental daily builds and stuff. So one of the advantages of going this path, having everything back-ended really by Linux and not Windows, is that you have the massive support and standardization of the free and open source community and world and repositories and infrastructures behind you on all this, which is a fairly good alternative to having Microsoft or Apple behind you. If you're going to have a third runner-up, you could do a lot worse than, say, Ubuntu. But here I am waiting for stuff, and I don't think I should be, but I guess I got to let it finish because of this startup. I'll talk you through it while it's starting up. Some of the things you'll see if so I put foo in here because since it's actually accessing the same Jupyter Lab server that I set up with a drink me script so that you, my friends, can have this on your desktop. See a Jupyter Lab icon, you double click that, it brings you a very similar environment, a lot snappier. Now that I'm doing this, Jupyter Lab hosted Linux side, but brought to you through your native operating system's web browser is really a lot more pleasant than having everything brought to you through Linux graphics, which, while possible, can take some time. So if I hit the escape key, I have these VI key bindings. So J would jump me down to the lower cells. J steps you down. K steps you back up. So you can jump up and down through cells with the J and K keys, just like in Vim. Same commands for up and down. Software occasionally adopts that kind of stuff, surprisingly, and it's wonderful to see. But this is specifically Vim bindings. But since it's not the Vim user interface, there are things to know, like when you're on a cell and you hit enter, that will give you your what line am I on? And you are not in insert mode. If you're using Vim bindings, you can't just start typing. They're serious about their Vim bindings. So you go to where you want to insert a line, and then you hit I for insert, and then you can say import. It's really going slow. This is not going to be something I'm going to be able to screencast. So I'm going to exit out of that. See, it's catching up with me, but I can escape, and then I can hit U for undo, because again, all your Vim keyword bindings are there, which is just amazing. Do you have to be selected on this, and then hit undo? Yeah. Nuance. I don't even know if I'm going to keep the Vim key bindings because, this is alien enough, and to use my native alien API to make this other alien API feel more natural and native to me is too many complicated things thrown into the stew. I'll probably turn off the Vim bindings and use VS Code just like most people use WYSIWYG editors with the ability to highlight and Control C, Control V. Everything is changed when you're in Vim mode, which is fine when you're in Vim or in NeoVim, but not fine when you are in this anticlimactic because I didn't have NeoVim show that in NeoVim, but not so fine when you're in something that you're trying to get a hang of in the first place. So I'm going to get out of here as quick as possible, and I think I'm going to do that by, this is a .ipynb, so I can just get the heck out of here. I'll make sure I do a save and a quit. I don't even know if that's going to work. Let's close the heck out of that. This performance is unacceptable. Discarding backups is taking longer. Closing the window is taking a bit longer. Saving local history. I don't need it. Close anyway. Go away. Yeah, so using Linux graphics on your Windows desktop is not particularly ready for prime time. So I'm just going to go back in here into Jupyter Lab, which allows you to back end it with Linux. So all the running code here that you're going to see is actually running on a Linux virtual machine in the background, where Windows Subsystem for Linux is hosting a service. That service is Jupyter Lab server. And that's what you see this connecting to right now. This isn't doing it all too snappy either, right? Wow. I think I have underestimated how much CPU time screen recording actually takes, and how resource intensive all this, multiple computer virtualization stuff takes too. But I'm pretty impressed that this machine can keep up with it. So I'm actually in that same directory, and I can double click that same file. It's going to be the notebook of KMeans, right? Because it was a IPYNB. This is the one, and there it is. I can run it here. It should run exactly the same way. There's no reason this shouldn't just work the same way in. Oh wait, that's the PY file. Look, I did that mistake. I said exactly the opposite of what I meant. This one here is the actual notebook. And in here, there is no reason that shouldn't run the exact same way that it ran over in VS Code. But now you have the native operating system browser advantage. All your local browser screen user interface performance advantages of the native operating system are there. Maybe this even finished. No, it's still running. I guess it has that first time running stuff. And the exact same stuff you saw me type over there in VS Code is here. So VS Code can now load and save IPython notebooks natively and not worry about, having to convert them one time to PY. That was a downside at one time with VS Code. Oh, the topics.db is written locally here. Yeah, as it should be. We might have seen a lock file appear and disappear. Yeah, there, it's done running its code. There's not a lot of output to this. This block just has to run. And once that block is run, we're really ready for the next step. And I'm going to get this the heck out of any of these notebook environments, because I wrote this so that it's completely transportable to non-notebook environments. So I'll do a select all, a copy, number of copies because you have to do a lot of copies these days. And I'll go over to a terminal. Now, I'm already using my first terminal for a browser, and I use another terminal. And I'm going to go to where the blog stuff is happening. So that's in a directory called Skite, a directory in a repo called Skite. Inside here, I've been working on this file recently called chopchop.py. So I am going to vim chopchop.py, and I'm going to look for the best place in here for this whole other script to be inserted. And then I'll clean it up a little bit more later, and I'm going to open even another shell here because I'm going to be running it from that location and doing the git commits and stuff. So here I also cd into Skite, git commit, about to do some big changes, topic changes, edits. No way to say that right without saying that you're actually doing a topic, but I'm doing the topic of topics. Very meta. Git push. Oh, nothing to commit. Okay, so there's a few untracked files, but everything's up to date. That's fine. Okay, so here I actually take a lot in from the parser. Not a lot, only one of these things is required. I take the full path in that needs to be passed. That gets sent when I hit a macro over there in the journal to do my auto publishing. And I don't want to interfere with most stuff. Let's wait till, housekeeping is done. And then parse journal. I can put it beneath all the functions, but before where things just start to run like the body of the program. I don't always move things into main. I think main is takes away a nice feature, which is like, oh, your functions are done, here's your program starting to run. Having a main function, while it's probably good practice, it's not Jupyter friendly, not notebook friendly, and it's easier to think about it. It's one less place to jump. But now I paste in that whole darn thing that was just in a notebook before, and it could probably quite just well live there, except that some of the paths that are being used for the databases are not right. I'm going to have to fix paths for topics. And I can do that pretty easily by finding other places where I refer to .db files, right? I do that all over the place. So here's a good one. And then I go back and I go to topics /.db. It's good to know the code you wrote if you know the code you wrote. And you can see here how these environments like Vim and NeoVim are just so pleasant after, heavyweight graphic intensive environments. Getting graphics out of your life can be one of the best favors you ever do for yourself. Now I think that's the only place I have a topics.db. Yep, so I fixed that path issue, right? All that path work I did in other places helps me here. And this works off of databases that it knows are going to be there. There might be a little bit of order dependency here, but we trigger off its process. Now, after all that stuff I said about having like a main body, this is now a place where I might actually start thinking about putting the title stuff, the topic stuff in a separate function, but not just yet, not just yet. I want to find where it gets inserted into the overall process. This is what really triggers it off. Parse the journal file, right? It hits this and it creates a, whoa. I don't know if that was Copilot or what, but that was nuts. I am going to disable Copilot for a little bit. Might not have been Copilot at all, but in navigating this and making sure I'm doing the correct things, I am specifically interested in timing conditions of when I start to do this kind of stuff, because I read the keyword database to do that. This starts to set up the process because I need the that stuff for doing the keyword grouping. This is vectorizing it in advance of the KMeans stuff. To KMeans, all that stuff happens, and then I have written out to a database now all the keyword stuff, and always will continue to do so. Whenever this is run, it will evaluate how the topics are broken up over their different categories, reestablish it. But now I'm just thinking it through. Yeah, it's once again that place where those DB files occur, because here's where I layer in the meta descriptions, and I layer in the keyword meta tag. And now I'm going to layer in category. It's going to be quite similar to this, I think. But I'll take this one because this is an even simpler strategy, or simpler case. It's going to follow that logic almost completely. But it's now going to be topics. If slug not in database, topic equals we'll do this a different way. I sort of learned slug comma topic. Oh wait, no, it's slug. Yeah. Okay, right. Then we have to get. No, it's always gonna be in the database. That's the point of me having put that up there. If slug not in database, then topic equals none. Else db slug equals no, we don't need any of that. All we're doing is we're loading. Yeah, we're loading it, right? We don't have to commit back to the database. This is only a case where this will happen. Yeah, now we're sitting on top of topic either way, because it goes through here, it hits the topic database, and it either doesn't have one, which it would be very unusual, or it does, and now I'm sitting on a topic variable, and here we're writing in the front matter. Now I guess I'll do a before and after. Yet one more Linux shell. And some people like tabs and stuff. I'm not a big tabs person. I very much enjoy just going left and right on my screens. So here, though we have to remind ourselves of context sometimes. The context here, oh, the front matter stuff, that's right. So I'm going to go into hide / where I do my website publishing, and then from there I'm going to go into posts, which is where the sliced and diced files get diced into. I can just show you all of them there, and I can vim all of them. Just vim all of them. And now I have the keyboard shortcut Control Spacebar set up to go forward through my buffer. It's a B:\next command. So once these are loaded, I can just hold the Control key, hit the spacebar, and it'll just go from one file to the next. When I don't have so much going on my machine, this can be quite rapid fire. But the before is the fact that there is no title. There is title. There's no topic. Now I'm using this as category, so I might change it to category at this point in order to keep it conceptually compatible with the more Jekyll and blogging way of doing these things. So I'll probably do that. There is no category, front matter here in these files. So I'll return it to the way it was. And I am going to put that front matter in here. And that should do it. I do believe I can just go over here and trigger the command. Now there is a syntax error. I can see where it is already, but what I do is I pick up this command while it's expanded and copyable, and I exit out of that. I see it was line 156. It just had an extra colon after none. I can go back here and do my keyboard shortcut, but now that I copied the command, I can do it, say, over here as well. Doesn't matter what directory I'm in either, because this is a completely absolute path kind of process. Now, all that keyword stuff being in there is new. All the stuff that does the category. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to do all the debugging now for this that's going on here. But what I am going to do is I'm going to leave this because I know that's been created. That's been run separately. I just tried to make it so that I could run these things sort of together here. So that they were fairly inextricable, and whenever I ran my function to publish the blog, I would always get all the other stuff as well. All this topic and category stuff would auto-magically happen, but I'm going to do that separately. I'll just combine them together now for these purposes in a much simpler way, is what I'm saying here. So right down to where parsing the journal file begins. All this was part of the what I pasted in, so it was very anticlimactic. I pasted in, I copied out, but I do have something still going on here. I still have, the database that I know exists, providing the recently generated topics data. Now, an interesting thing here while this is going on is making sure, because this is going to count up to 500, it's going to take a little bit of time, but that gives plenty of time now to go into a browser. In this case, I'll want Edge because that's where I kind of set that up. I'll close out of this one. I'll go into Edge, and in my Edge shortcuts, I should have the OpenAI API usage icon ready to click so that I know I'm not really hitting the API. See, this was my, so 98 cents is the thing. We don't want to see the 98 cents change, even from that load to this load, to make sure that my code isn't accidentally hitting the API without me intending it. But it's not. So this slightly slower running is now a result of hitting yet another database to do more layering in of metadata into the files. Now I'm not doing anything with it yet. It's not going to reach the HTML. But I didn't do that, by the way. That was it doing it. Now that says none, so I can tell already that something is wrong. I'm probably going to Control C out of that because there shouldn't be categories with none. Everything should belong to a category. So we're going to test what's going on and see what I got wrong. See, they're all none. So I got something wrong. But it's going to have to do with key value stuff. It's always key value stuff when you're using a dictionary to assign a value. So if slug not in DB, so we're using slug as a key, then topic is none. Else, so slug is not being found in DB. So I need to take a quick look. And this is where, you know, we keep this loaded all the time. And I'm in the right directory, and I can do a test query. I can do a new one. We just throw up a new notebook. And this is how repetitive these patterns that we use are. So from SQLite dict, import SQLite dict as SQL dict, and now we can say SQL dict. We can say with SQL dict topics.db as db for key in db print key. And so now we'll just be able to look and make sure that that database called topics actually has inside of it what I think has inside of it. And it's saying it just has one title. So I think what happened is when I tried running this the other way, it wiped out what I had sitting there from running the first way. So let me run it here this first way, because this creates that database. The whole purpose of this thing is to, you know, scan through the existing keyword database and to use those keywords, those extracted keywords, to create the groups. Still nothing. It's just still that one. So seconds ago, for key in DB, topics DB. So that means this might not be writing into it properly. So that's at the bottom of this thing, with SQL dict topics DB as DB for key value in df to dict. So I should be able to write this out. I should be able to run this piece of code separately. And that should have a nice big loop that's writing into that database. And I can say print key. Oh, it's just the key is the word title. So that explains why it's ending up as one thing over there. So df dict to records is not what I think it is. So let's take a look at that df. And it has everything that I thought was there, but I'm going to say dot to records. I believe that's with the open close. And there they are like that. I can start to see already what's happening. So when you go to records, you're getting a tuple that has the index included. Index equals false. That takes the index out, so I need to put index equals false into the to records where it gets created. Oh, to dict. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, okay. Similar issue. I actually like the to records solution that I had. So when I put this in here, and it says for key comma value in this stuff that gets returned, it should be able to pick them out, but I'm just going to take an extra precaution by turning that whole thing into a list. And now if I do it like that, I'm highly assured that as it iterates through here, it's just a plain old tuple, and this becomes the key, and this becomes the value. And so that takes the place of all this. And that database, which previously had nothing in it, now has something in it. And think about this. We just get this script going again. Just start it running again. And one of the things you'll notice as these files start to get produced is this directory here is empty. It only has just a few things in there, whereas it had all 500 or so files before. Each time I ls it now, it's going to have slightly more files as the slice and dice system is generating them. But at any time I like, I can vim them and it'll edit as many happen to be in that directory, and that's all I need to do in order to see if a category has been added. And there it is, success. Let me go to the next category, quantum theory. Category, Google Photos. It's interesting, it's choosing Google Photos for a lot of projects that might not particularly be Google Photos. That's just because it was the first. I have a little bit of smoothing things out. I might actually change this. I might use a dictionary that the following words get mapped to Google software or Google services or whatever, and just feed it through one extra dictionary of well-known and well-understood auto-generated categories, just in case I have to remap them, because these are very likely going to manifest as evergreen permalinks. Like, I'm going to have a link on the SEO industry, and everything I write about the SEO industry will end up on that page. Everything I write about Google services is likely services will end up there. Python dictionary is an interesting thing. I talk about all things Python, but Python dictionaries I do talk about a particularly lot. SEO. And well, you can see already it's doing exactly what it was supposed to. So I'm going to quit with an exclamation point so it doesn't change any of my, take any of my saves. And yeah, that'll be rendering for a while now. But that's mission accomplished. That's the purpose of this video. You saw me take the output of a keyword grouping program that I wrote and run it in a number of different environments, including the last video. You've seen me now run it, and you see I used all but screen 7. I wrote it in VS Code, so I have the full Twinkle advantage. I have IntelliSense going, and I have Copilot going. So that really helped me write this clustering thing. It did help me in, exploring those objects and figuring out what it really was I was trying to do. And you've seen me run it in Jupyter Lab as getting a faster way to do much the same thing. Everything you get in VS Code except for IntelliSense, auto-completion, at least the way auto-completion works in VS Code. Auto-completion is an aggressive, well-informed auto-completion, right? IntelliSense knows all about the objects in every language and does a lot of really special stuff to auto-suggest. So there's that. People like that. I tend to not like it that much, but it's because I tried it and have stepped away from it. I'm now in the process of trying and maybe stepping away for Copilot. So I have Copilot running now in both these two pieces of software. And chances are I'm going to be, settling on in NeoVim because I love the Vim environment. So I'm tempted to do the new blog post like that, but I'm going to undo that so I go back to this blog post and go to the bottom of it, because this is kind of the conclusion of all that, not the final conclusion, because there are a few more things I need to do. So fast forward a few hours. The code is done, but I have not fully incorporated it into the chop.py file under the journal slicer yet, but site generation will use the new topics.db, and I guess I qualify that now because my repo name, the Jekyll conventional directory where this stuff is kept, and the fact that it's a markdown file, I can backslash the underscore and it'll use that new file and create in the top matter, in the front matter, in the Jekyll front matter, a new category keyword. Entry. That's huge. I can now make category pages, display the category and the link on the blog pages. So I'm starting to just bring some of the functionality that has always been there in WordPress or TrueType or whatever other movable press blogging systems are out there. These are old things. These are not particularly innovative. I'm just doing it under the GitHub Pages static site generator system, just moving markdown files around and running a few scripts to do some pre-processing work. And that's going to allow me to craft the site very much like an artist over time. And so now I can run the macro from here. That will be updating my site with this new little bit of text I wrote, but I'm not going to let you or make you wait for that. I think that pretty much covers this video's purpose pretty well. And you see me dancing around between all these different possible places where you can run your code, but in a consistent and host environment independent fashion, right? All the stuff I'm doing could just as well be taking place on a Mac. There's very little about it that varies from instance to instance once you decide to use a Linux virtual machine, like people used the Java runtime engine in the past as a interoperable code compatibility layer. And it works out really well, especially when facilitated with a couple of other of these old school tools which exist everywhere and are much faster than having to go through graphic user interfaces for everything. So thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.